lawless. We've got a border crisis leading to rise in gang violence and endangering police. So what we're hearing in the headlines repeatedly, just on repeat, is, Trump's going to deport like 8 million people. He's going to deport like 10 million people. He's going to deport 11 million people. And consistently, Tom Homan has indicated, we're going after the criminals. Well, we're going to talk about criminals today, and we're going to talk about Trende Aragua, because that's the big one that comes across the southern border. That's what we're talking about, an impact on policing. Let's jump on into it. Here we go. Trende Aragua is terrorizing Utah as Venezuelan dissidents warns that local authorities are not ready. These are ongoing stories that are happening on the daily. Let's watch this one.
De Jesus Mavo Bracho appeared before a judge over the weekend, accused of stealing and pushing a police officer before being taken into custody Friday evening at Dolphin Mall, after another man reported he and 2 others were trying to beat him up. Police say once in custody, they found Mavo Bracho with 2 bags of Nike merchandise without a receipt, valued at over $1,100. But officers also noticed the 20-year-old's body art. They say these images from his arms, specifically this one depicting a clock with a rose, are associated with the Venezuelan street gang Trende Aragua, or TDA for short.
He, of course, claimed that he is not affiliated with it, that he just likes the tattoo and that he has it.
Police and Federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents also wanted to speak to Mavo Bracho.
We learned from them that people don't get these tattoos just because they look nice, because nobody wants to be affiliated with them.
How about this one? 14 suspected gang members arrested after Aurora, Colorado home invasion. What about all that nonsense in Aurora where there's no gang violence here? We got nothing. I mean, those 3 complexes, they weren't overrun by Trende Aragua. No siree. They were just having community get-togethers. Yeah. 14 suspected gang members. Arrested. Yeah. Police in Aurora, Colorado said Tuesday they apprehended 14 due to a home invasion. Aurora Police Department told reporters that officers responded to the Edge at Lowry Apartments after 2 residents were accosted by several individuals. That complex is notably the same site which some claimed in September was taken over by armed Venezuelan gang members. And then the mayor said, it's a figment of your imagination. There's nothing to worry about. Don't worry about a thing. It's all good. There was never a takeover. And yet we are reading about it December 17th. Interesting. What's going on? Well, border crisis is leading to a rise in gang violence. I mean, this is not shocking stuff, right? This is basic cause and effect, and it makes absolute sense. But going back to where I started at the beginning of the podcast was, you're going to hear, well, what about all these 11 million people that are going to be deported by Trump? Now, you got to focus on the criminal element first. And I just read to you a whole bunch of stories that are, current. These are current stories going on. So if you want to keep letting that level of violence and illegal activity and basically a third world prison gang come into your community, I'd say, then let's not deport anybody. Let's just all sing Kumbaya, eat some cookies, and hope this all turns out well. Let's just do that. We'll all just, hold hands and we'll sing Kumbaya. How about that? No, that's not really going to work, because you need to get these folks out of the country. You deport. And that's what we're talking about. We are essentially talking about deporting the criminal element that has come into the country illegally. With federal data showing, give me my little yellow pointer. Federal data showing illegal immigration numbers and assaults on law enforcement are reaching historic highs. Shocker, right? Shocker. Homeland Security Subcommittee on Emergency Management Technology heard testimony Tuesday regarding the dangers posed by current border policies to police officers in the communities that they serve. The hearing featured 3 witnesses with on-the-ground experience in law enforcement, all of whom highlighted the dangerous results of the border crisis, particularly the rise of notorious Venezuelan-based gang Trende Aragua in communities across the U.S. Skipping down now, we go on to a severe public safety threat, direct consequence of the failed border policies. And now we're looking at targeting of law enforcement across the country. It's not just in New York City. It's in every location where TDA, Trende Aragua, exists. We know that they are active in 17 states. So, just because we don't have we don't have an arrest in every single state doesn't mean they aren't there. They're in more communities where they've got Venezuelans that are posted up in these sanctuary cities, because then they've got the young ladies that they can, run sexual trafficking. And then they've got the drugs that they can sell to guys that want to use the services of the young ladies who they are sexually trafficking to pay off their debts coming into the country. Legally, illegally, however they may have come in, right? Illegally. Because otherwise, they would just go to a point of entry and say, hey, here's my passport. Let's do this. Let's come on in. But they don't have that option. Article goes on to say they are dangerous. They are everywhere. In late October, federal officials confirmed the presence of TDA members in the northwest part of Missouri. Federal authorities advised local law enforcement officers to release them into the community. There you go. Now, that nonsense is going to stop. That nonsense is going to stop. So if anybody tells you, hey, we shouldn't be deported, the mass deportations, no, we're against. No, we are for mass deportations of criminals in the country. That's what we're for. And that's what's going to be focused on. And if they get 1 million of them out, what do we have? We have 1.2 million total between convicted criminals that shouldn't be here, folks that shouldn't be here, period, folks that have pending criminal charges, whether in their home country, Venezuela, wherever, or pending criminal charges here in the United States. Boom. Get them out. But the sheer numbers, we're not going to deport 8 million people. We're not going to deport 11 million people. I've seen so many different reports. That is just not going to happen because you don't have number of law enforcement to do that. And that is such a massive, massive undertaking. Just putting 1 million people together. Seattle official is 750,000 people. So you're going to round up everybody that's living in the city confines of Seattle and somehow push them through airports, buses, trains out. I mean, massive, massive, monumental task. And that's if those folks were all just, I guess we need to leave now, if they were in that position, but they're not. These are folks that are already criminals that don't want to be rounded up. And so they're going to do their best to hide. So, I mean, if you can get to a few 100,000 of these folks, that's a win. That's a win. If you can get 1 million out in 4 years, hey, I have no idea what these numbers will actually look like. None whatsoever. I mean, I even went down the pathway of, well, if each state got rid of 50,000 criminals, just doing some math. Well, how many would that be? Essentially not enough, but not nearly the numbers of we're talking, day one, we're going to deport 8 million people. Not happening, right? Soon after, 3 Trende Aragua members were charged with the capital murder of another Trende Aragua gang member in Texas. Oh, not shocking. Patrick J. Ryder, commissioner of New York's Nassau County Police Department, said the scale of violent crimes committed within the past 4 years tops anything he's seen throughout his service. Throughout my tenure, I've witnessed the crack wars of the 80s, cocaine usage in the 90s, the more recent devastating effects of heroin and fentanyl, Ryder said. Nevertheless, these times pale in comparison to the lawless society we are witnessing today. And a lot of that is happening because we've gone down the whole fentanyl Floyd road and, hey, police are terrible. They're just murdering people left and right. This is awful. Defund the police. That happened for a split second, but the after effect of that has been, with us in great lengths because you have a lot of communities, Seattle being one, where nobody wants to be a cop and you can't you can't bring in enough police officers into the community to basically keep it safe. Portland, same thing. So many communities around the United States, you don't have enough cops. So not only do you have all this criminal element and the drugs going on, you don't have enough law enforcement to basically keep the citizens safe right now, today. Right now, today, you don't. San Francisco, I was watching a short with Tucker Carlson interviewing Elon Musk, and Elon was talking about a husband and wife or a couple in San Francisco where they had somebody overdose out in front of their garage in San Francisco, and there was a dead body. And the city basically said, well, are you safe? Are you in harm's way? And they're like, no, the dude's dead. And San Francisco said, well, we'll get somebody out there within maybe a day or so. And so they were leaving the next day to go somewhere, and they had to work around this dead body because you don't have enough resources to basically, can't send a cop out right now. And it's just not happening. It's not happening in San Francisco. Don't have enough cops. You got so many other issues going on that a dead body, well, that's kind of low on the totem pole of priority. So lawless society, absolutely. I mean, you watch some of the, East Oakland sideshows that result in these mini marts that are just being run over with all these kids stealing stuff, just absolutely taking from these stores in mass shoplifting. That is lawless. Deporting a bunch of illegal immigrant criminals isn't going to solve some of the lawless society issues we've got, but it's a good start, and I'm all for it. And I hope they go ham on day one. I really do. I hope they do, because that's what we need after 4 years of the Biden administration. I mean, what was going on there? Yep, the border is mostly secure. We think the border is secure. And you just got drugs and illegals and sex trafficking just pouring across, literally pouring across. Nothing to see here. It's mostly secure. It's mostly secure. With virtually no threat of deportation for migrants released into the country awaiting trial dates, Ryder claimed criminals are emboldened to act with impunity, especially in these big sanctuary cities. Because they know that everybody's on their side. Oh, we love the illegals. Love them. They're the best. There's nothing stopping these undocumented persons from entering our communities, committing crimes, joining gangs, or preying on the Nassau County residents, Ryder said, adding that New York's status as a sanctuary city has had a ripple effect on Nassau County as migrants, including migrant criminals, relocate to outside the city. That was the same deal with Aurora. Aurora is next to Denver. Denver is a big sanctuary city. Aurora is not. But you get the pushover because Trende Aragua and their criminal elements, their criminal gang members, they go where the people are. And so the illegals are going to communities outside of the main cities because there's housing there, affordable housing there, and you got to go where you got to go. So then the crime follows, right? And this was an interesting one right here. Situation has even prompted New York Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat, to recently voice support for deportation of migrants who have been accused of committing crimes, an apparent shift in his position that deportations should be conducted only after a criminal is convicted. Now Trump is talking about preemptively pardoning Eric Adams. Eric Adams, boy, he downed the red pill at some point, didn't he? I think he looked around and went, oh, this isn't going to work in our current state. This isn't going to work. So then he was indicted for accepting some, travel, some free travel and some free hotels. I mean, what was going on there? That whole thing was just shaky at best, right? Being indicted for what? He's doing what? We're doing what? Yeah, maybe some bad decisions were made, but his support for deportations has been, it's been kind of shocking. Like he's saying, what? This is This is a Democrat city. This is a Democrat, mayor who's got a background in law enforcement. What are we doing? What part of the down under are we living in? Kind of one of those moments, right? So all three of the witnesses that testified at this subcommittee, they recommended increasing border security, making the migrant vetting process stricter. I'm okay with both of those. Yeah, you betcha. Ending the Biden administration's catch and release policy 100% and ensuring more funding from Congress is allocated to law enforcement as viable ways to combat migrant crime and attacks on law enforcement. I mean, get rid of the whole parole system, stop using that illegally, remain in Mexico, lean on Mexico. That's already happened. I mean, Trump has basically gotten more done before he's become president as far as the border goes by basically telling, Canada and Mexico, hey, gonna slap a tariff on you unless this, and this changes. Meanwhile, Biden, does Biden know that he is still president? I mean, it's kind of unknown, right? Has there been a Biden sighting recently? Do we know if he's still alive? Not even really sure, right? I pay zero attention to him just because he is a non-factor. But going into presidential switchover, some of this stuff, I mean, the illegal immigration, the deportation of illegals, that is going to be a hot one. That's going to be a hot one because the Democrats are going to say, you're being discriminatory. This is everything that we talked about. And in reality, Tom Homan's going after a bunch of criminals. I'm okay with that. All right. Thanks for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next segment. Bye for now.